Welcome to Biography Central. You are listening to Life of Sri Ramakrishna, a complete biography. Chapter 47. Sasi, Sarat, Hari, Gangadhar, Sarada, Tulasi, and Hariprasanna. Sasi Bhushan and Sarat Chandra Chakravarti, the cousins of a pious Brahmin family of Calcutta, were members of a Brahmo organization started under the influence of Keshab Chandra Sain, and learned of Sri Ramakrishna from some fellow members of the association who had seen the master at the Brahmo Samaj. The members of this society resolved to celebrate their anniversary at Dakshineshwar, where they would enjoy the company of Sri Ramakrishna. On a certain day, in October of 1883, they arrived at the garden. Sasi and Sarat went to see the master and found him seated on the small bedstead in his room. Sri Ramakrishna received them with a smile and had a mat spread on the floor where they were to sit. He asked them their names and where they lived, and was pleased to hear that they belonged to Keshab's Brahmo Samaj. Then he said, "Bricks and tiles, if burnt after the trademark has been stamped on them, retain those marks forever. Similarly, you should be stamped with spirituality before entering the world. Then you will not become attached. But nowadays, parents marry their boys too young. By the time they finish their education, they're already the fathers of children and have to run hither and thither in search of a job to maintain the family. They find it difficult to secure an appointment with sufficient salary to feed so many mouths. So they have little time to think of God. Then, sir, is it wrong to marry? Is it against the will of God?" asked one of the boys. Sri Ramakrishna asked him to take down one of the books from the shelf and read aloud an extract from the Bible setting forth Christ's opinion on marriage. "For there are some eunuchs, which were so born from their mother's womb. There are some eunuchs, which were made eunuchs of men. And there be eunuchs, which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive, let him receive." And St. Paul's, "I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn." When the passage was read, Sri Ramakrishna remarked that marriage was the root of all bondage. One among the audience interrupted him, saying, "Do you mean to say, sir, that marriage is against the will of God? And how can his creation go on if people cease to marry?" Sri Ramakrishna smiled and said, "Don't worry about that. Those who like to marry are at perfect liberty to do so. What I said just now was between ourselves. I say what I've got to say. You may take as much or as little of it as you like." He asked Sasi whether he believed in God with form or without form. With characteristic frankness, the boy answered, "I am not certain about the very existence of God, so I am not able to speak one way or the other." The reply pleased the master very much. After some time, the boys returned home. Sasi and Sarat were fascinated by the personality of Sri Ramakrishna. They said to themselves, "Henceforth we shall visit this holy man. If one wishes to learn the secret of spirituality, one must go to him." From his boyhood, Sasi cherished a great regard for religious books. The Bible and the lives of Sri Gauranga and other saints were among his favorite books. Prayer, meditation, and worship were part of his daily occupation. His hankering for God was evidenced by his regular attendance at the Brahmo Samaj. He was a brilliant student and was preparing for the first examination in arts when he met the master. Naturally, his parents built great hopes on him, but Sasi bade adieu to all worldly prospects as soon as he had a glimpse of something higher through his contact with Sri Ramakrishna. He soon became one of the inner circle of the master's followers and made him the pole star of his life. Sarat was not behind his cousin in his appreciation of Sri Ramakrishna and became a great devotee. At the first sight, the master noticed his stern spirit of renunciation. One day, he was seated in his room at Dakshineshwar, surrounded by a group of devotees. Ganesha, the Hindu god of success and wisdom, was the topic of conversation. The master praised highly the integrity of character of this deity, his utter absence of passion and single-minded devotion to his mother, the goddess Durga. In this connection, he narrated some anecdotes from the Hindu mythology which brought the divine character of Ganesha vividly before his audience. Young Sarat was present. Suddenly he said, "Well, "Sir, I like the character of Ganesha very much. He's my ideal." The master at once corrected him, saying, "No, Ganesha is not your ideal. Your ideal is Shiva. You possess Shiva attributes." Then he added, "Think of yourself always as Shiva and of me as Shakti. I am the fountain of all your power, Shakti." It is not for us ordinary mortals to understand the significance of this mystic utterance. But it is nonetheless a fact that Sarat in later years showed in a wonderful degree a spirit of calmness, fortitude, forbearance, sympathy for others, and readiness to share their burdens, which are the special characteristics of Shiva. He realized perfectly that Sri Ramakrishna was the repository of the powers which enabled him to attain success in his individual spiritual life as well as in the great Ramakrishna order. One day the master asked Sarat, "How would you like to realize God? What divine visions do you prefer to see in meditation?" Sarat replied, "I do not want to see any particular form of God in meditation. I want to see him as manifested in all creatures of the world. I do not like visions." The master said with a smile, "That is the last word in spiritual attainment. You cannot have it all at once." "But I won't be satisfied with anything short of that," replied the boy. "I shall trudge on in the path of religious practice till that blessed state arrives." Of Sasi and Sarat, Sri Ramakrishna used to say that both of them were followers of Jesus the Christ in a former incarnation. Another great disciple who was attracted by the magnetic personality of Sri Ramakrishna was Harinath Chatterjee of Bagbazar. Orphaned when quite young, he was reared by his brother. He became the leader among his churns, and his love of justice made him an influence for good. His relatives were amazed at his spiritual fervor even in boyhood. Like a real Orthodox Brahmin, he bathed thrice a day and cooked his own meals, which he offered to God before eating. He arose every morning before sunrise and recited the whole Gita from memory. He had a passion for the Vedanta philosophy. Shankaram molded his life, and the Advaita Vedanta left an indelible impression upon his mind. He tried to live according to Vedanta and succeeded in some measure. One day, while bathing in the Ganges, he perceived something moving on the surface of the water at a few yards' distance from him. He was startled to discover that it was a crocodile. He hurried towards the shore, but the next moment he thought, "What a coward I am! Do I not read every day that I am the immortal soul? And now I am skulking before a crocodile." He retraced his steps and finished his bath, not however without some little trepidation. His elder brother, who was his guardian, did not thwart his religious pursuits and silence friends who complained of the queer conduct of the boy by saying, "Why? He is doing just what we and everybody else ought to do." The following is his own version of his first encounter with Sri Ramakrishna. "I first met the master in the house of Dinanath Bose of Bagbazar when I was a boy of 13 or 14. The master at that time remained mostly in Samadhi. The news that the Paramahansa would come was circulated, and on the appointed day I went to get a view of the man. Soon a hackney carriage with 2 passengers in it stopped in front of the house. A stout, strong man, with forehead painted with vermilion and a gold amulet on his right arm, alighted from it. It was Hriday. He helped the other person, who was no other than Sri Ramakrishna, to alight, holding him by the hand. The master was thin and emaciated. He wore a shirt, and one end of his cloth was tied round the waist. He appeared to be totally unconscious of the world. When I got a better view of him, I saw that his face was surrounded with a halo. The thought immediately flashed in my mind. I have read about Sukadeva in the books. Is this then a man like him? Supported by his nephew, he walked to the room with tottering gait. Regaining a little consciousness of the world, he saw a large portrait of Kali on the wall and bowed his head before it. Then he sang a song depicting the oneness of Krishna and Kali, which thrilled the audience. 2 or 3 years afterwards, Harinath met the master again at Dakshineshwar. It was a holiday, and a crowd of devotees had assembled. Sri Ramakrishna took him aside and bade him come on any day but a holiday, when he would be freer to talk. Harinath became passionately attached to the master. He had never heard such words of wisdom before. It seemed to him that in spite of his illiteracy, the man of Dakshineshwar had assimilated the real import of the sastras. One day, after they had been intimately acquainted, the young devotee said to the master, "Sir, how pleasant and joyous is everything belonging to this place. Calcutta seems like hell in comparison." "Why?" said Sri Ramakrishna to cheer him. "You are a servant of the Lord Hari, and his servant can never be unhappy anywhere." "But I don't know that I am his servant," said the boy. The master reiterated, "Truth does not depend upon anybody's knowledge of it, whether you know it or not. You are a servant of the Lord." This reassured Harinath. From an early age, Harinath had an abhorrence of women. He did not allow even little girls to come near him. One day, in answer to an inquiry from the master on this subject, he said, "Oh, I cannot bear them." "You talk like a fool," said the master reprovingly. "Look down upon woman. What for? They are the manifestations of the Divine Mother. Bow down to them as to your mother and hold them in respect. That is the only way to escape their influence. The more you hate them, the more you will fall into the snare." These fiery words penetrated the heart of Harinath and changed his entire outlook on women. "Sir," he asked the master another day, "how is one to be aware of the dawn of knowledge?" Sri Ramakrishna replied, "A man does not jump about when he gets illumination. Outwardly, he remains as he was, but his entire perspective of the world is changed. The touch of the philosopher's stone converts a steel sword into gold. It retains its former shape intact, but it can no longer kill. It has become soft, like a true weight-on tin." Harinath lived a life of asceticism and continence. The deeper he dived into Vedanta, the more its lofty ideal appealed to him. Plunged in the study of books on this subject, he did not come to Dakshineshwar for some days. Sri Ramakrishna noticed his absence and said to him one day, "Hello, you do not come here now so frequently. They say you're studying and meditating on Vedanta nowadays. It is good, but what does the Vedanta philosophy teach? Brahman alone is real and everything else is unreal. Isn't that its substance, or is there anything more? Then why don't you give up the unreal and cling to the real?" These words threw a new light on Vedanta and turned Hari's thoughts in a new direction. A few days later, Sri Ramakrishna went to Calcutta and sent for Harinath. When he came, he found the master in a state of semi-consciousness. It is not easy to see the world of phenomena as unreal. The master began addressing the assembled devotees. "This knowledge is impossible without the special grace of God. Mere personal effort is powerless to confer this realization. A man is, after all, a tiny creature with very limited powers. What an infinitesimal part of truth can he grasp by himself?" Harinath felt as if these words were directed to him. For he had been straining every nerve to attain illumination. The master then sang a song eulogizing the miraculous power of divine grace. Tears flowed down his cheeks, literally wetting the ground. Harinath was deeply moved. He too burst into tears. After that, he learned to surrender himself at the feet of the Lord. Sri Ramakrishna loved Harinath dearly and used to speak highly of his great spiritual potentialities. Once the young man did not come to Dakshineshwar for a number of days. When at last he came, the master said to him in a voice choked with emotion, "Why don't you come here? I love to see you all, because I know that you are God's special favorites. Otherwise, what can I expect from you? You have not the means to offer me a paisa worth of presents, nor have you a tattered mat to spread on the floor when I go to your house. And still I love you so much. Don't fail to come here, for this is where you will achieve everything. If you're sure to find God elsewhere, go there by all means. What I want is that you realize God, transcend the misery of the world, and enjoy divine beatitude. Anyhow, try to attain it in this life. But the mother tells me that you will realize God without any effort if you only come here. So I insist upon your coming." As he spoke thus, he actually wept. Gangadhar was a friend of Harinath, and he also first saw Sri Ramakrishna on the same occasion. He was 14 years of age and reading in the second class. Like Hari, he used to practice religious exercises regularly from his boyhood. He bathed thrice daily, cooked his own meals, and read the Gita and the religious books. One day, He went off with a sadhu, telling none about it. He had the idea of making pilgrimages to holy places, but the thought of his parents made him return after a month. But he did not resume his studies. Harinath, meanwhile, had been visiting Sri Ramakrishna. One day, in 1884, Gangadhar accompanied him to Dakshineshwar. Ramakrishna spoke affably with him, as if he had been an old acquaintance, and among other things asked him about his journey with the sadhu, and also if he had seen him before. Thenceforth Gangadhar began to frequent Dakshineshwar. He was very orthodox in his habits, and fearing lest Sri Ramakrishna should ask him to take the rice prasad in the temple, he always went in the evening, when he took only fruits and sweets. Sri Ramakrishna noticed this. Once Gangadhar happened to be there in the daytime and was arranging to cook his meal, when the master said to him, "The food offered to Kali is cooked in Ganges water and is very pure. It is better even than havishya, which is rice and vegetables boiled together without any seasoning and considered a very pure food. So you take that." Gangadhar could not refuse. On his way, he looked back and saw Sri Ramakrishna watching him, probably to see that he went to the right place. He took everything but fish and meat. Then he went to Sri Ramakrishna's room and found the master standing with betel ready for him. As he was not used to chewing it, he refused it. Sri Ramakrishna said, "Why don't you take it? What harm is there in it? Narendra chews it 100 times a day and eats fish and flesh just as they come. Yet his mind is always on the heights. He sees the Brahman in everything. You are a boy. You needn't bother about giving up fish or betel and living on havishya cooked with your own hands. Just associate with Narendra." Accordingly, one day Gangadhar went to Narendra's house to see him. He was so impressed with Narendra's appearance, conversation, and frank behavior that he became very much attached to him. Narendra loved him much and used to call him Ganges. But Gangadhar kept his orthodoxy intact, and he could not understand why, in the face of the verdict of the scriptures, Sri Ramakrishna should try to make him disregard it. Did he not believe in being orthodox? A few days after this, Gangadhar went to Dakshineshwar and found the master talking to a group of people. One of them complained to him, "Sir, young boys come to you, and you teach them renunciation. You encourage them to give up the world and become sadhus. Is that fair?" The master replied, "The boys who come here are very pure and are inclined towards God from an early age. Some of them bathe thrice daily, eat havishya cooked with their own hands, are devoted to the study of the scriptures, and so on. Little boys, who should be hankering after life, hunger for renunciation instead. Can this be achieved in a single birth? How many austerities and spiritual practices they must have gone through in previous lives to possess this devotional turn of mind from boyhood. If I don't talk of religion to them, to whom else shall I talk?" Gangadhar was cheered at these words, and his doubt was dispelled. He visited Sri Ramakrishna occasionally and served him during his last days at Kasipur. Even there he maintained his orthodox habits and cooked his own food. His association with the master strengthened his spirit of renunciation, which afterwards took a tangible shape. Sarada Prasanna Mithra came of a rich zemindar family of Bursad in 24 Parganas. From his very childhood, he was a great devotee and fond of worship. He came to sit at the feet of the master when he was in his teens. To the illuminated vision of Sri Ramakrishna, the contents of his mind were revealed in every detail. All weaknesses were at once apparent, and soon he applied the specific remedy for them. In the home of Sarada, there had always been servants who did all the menial tasks and other work of the household. Unconsciously or otherwise as a result of this early training, Sarada had held himself above menial tasks and brought this defect with him to Sri Ramakrishna. One unusually hot day while visiting the temple at Dakshineshwar, Sri Ramakrishna said, "Please bring some water and wash my feet." Sarada stood stock still, rooted to the ground, a deepening flush rising to his forehead. Had he heard aright? Were there not servants for such things? Seemingly not noticing his confusion, the master repeated the request, and notwithstanding the presence of friends and others, there was nothing to do but to comply. With this single act, through the master's grace, The pride of birth was forever broken, and the true spirit of selfless service, which was really one of his innate qualities, was from that time on placed at the disposal of his master and all humanity. Of his many wonderful experiences while living with the master, one stands out in marked relief. One of the last vestiges of the ego to be removed is sex, with all its subtle ramifications, and years of practice and asceticism are often necessary for its eradication. Sarada had set his will to conquer this great foe, but the task seemed endless until, on a certain day, as he sat in meditation, he felt a definite motion of the master's grace within, and the idea of sex began to disappear like a mirage, never to return. Tulasi Charan Dutt was a boy of 18 who lived in the Bozpara quarter of Calcutta. Late one afternoon, he was chatting near his house with some friends when he suddenly heard that a Paramahansa was visiting the house of Balaram Babu. Many people were going to see him. Tulasi decided to go also to see what kind of a Paramahansa he was. When he reached Balaram's house, he found that the parlor and veranda were packed with visitors. Peeping in, he saw in the center of the room a vacant seat with a pillow. He went to the western veranda and waited. A few minutes after, he saw a man completely absorbed in himself come staggering like one drunk from the house. He came to where the boy stood, looked at him for a moment, and slowly tottered into the parlor. Tulasi stood nonplussed, forgetting even to salute the master. He felt a sort of creeping sensation within his bosom, and his whole body seemed to be paralyzed. When this feeling subsided, he ran home. A few days after the above incident, Tulasi went to see his friend Haranath. The latter proposed to go to Dakshineshwar and see the Paramahansa. When they reached there, they found that the master had gone to Calcutta, so they missed him. They went into his room, and Tulasi began to look at the pictures hanging from the wall. Among these was a photograph of the master. When Tulasi saw it, he was startled. He said at once, "I have seen him already." "Where?" asked Haranath. "At the house of Balaram Babu," replied Tulasi. "Then it is all right," said Hari. Shortly after this, Tulasi went to Dakshineshwar alone. He sought Sri Ramakrishna and found him at his noon meal. He saluted and sat on the floor. This was the first time he had ever bowed down to the master. It did not occur to him that he must not salute a man engaged in eating, or that his presence might be an intrusion. But Ramakrishna did not mind these breaches of etiquette. After finishing his meal, he began to talk to the boy. They were alone. Only the Holy Mother was in the screened veranda to the north. After a few preliminary personal questions, Sri Ramakrishna surprised the boy by suddenly saying, "The other day, a boy resembling you came here and asked me if I could act as his intermediary." Tulasi did not understand, so he remained silent. Sri Ramakrishna continued, "By the word intermediary, I mean one who brings about the meeting of an individual with his beloved Lord. He is the Guru, and he is all. There is no difference between him and God." Tulasi understood that the master wished to be regarded in that light by him. After a while, Sri Ramakrishna placed his left hand on the boy's shoulder as a mark of favor and slowly walked towards the punch of a tea. Tulasi's heart was filled with joy when he was asked to come frequently. After reaching the punch of a tea, Sri Ramakrishna saluted the spot where he had practiced his sadhanas and sat on a lower step. Then in an exalted mood, he began to talk to the mother. Tulasi could catch only the word mother now and then. After a while, the master returned to his room, and Tulasi took leave of him for the day. After the passing of the master, he renounced the world. Hariprasanna Chatterjee of Belgara was introduced to Sri Ramakrishna in 1883, while he was in college of his friends Sasi and Sarat. The master took an active interest in the boy, who visited him a number of times. Then he ceased coming. Noticing his absence, the master sent an invitation to him through Sarat to come. Sarat delivered the message, but Hariprasanna was unable to accept it. Later, the master said to Sarat, "Well, mother says he will not come now." Sarat did not believe him, and continued in his efforts to bring Hariprasanna to Dakshineshwar. But something or other happened to prevent it. Among other things, the master gave Hariprasanna the following drastic advice. Even if a woman is like pure gold and rolls on the ground through love of God, it is dangerous to look at her. He asked him if he would be willing to beg his food from door to door. The boy said he would. The master evidently had a glimpse of this young aspirant's future life and tried to instill into his mind a love for renunciation. Hariprasanna became a monk some years later. I hope you like this chapter. We need volunteers and sponsors to create content with even better quality and with more variety. If you wish to join this initiative as a volunteer or sponsor, please click the links given in description below. To help us reach more viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Biography Central. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Namaste.